What's going on, family? You are now listening to the Fitness Headspace podcast, episode 15, brought to you by none other than myself, Deion Avril from Evolve Fitness, where we get fit and we don't quit, y'all. So first and foremost, I'd greatly appreciate it if you all can go ahead and like, share, comment, subscribe. We got to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We got to kill this algorithm. We got to make sure everything is pushing the way it needs to be, all right? So I'd greatly appreciate that. Now, as far as what's going on, I'd sent out the updates in regards to the website, so we're waiting on that to be done. Things have been kind of funny with this person because they're overseas, so we're gonna see what's up. I might have to change to domestic. We got the new workout programs coming, and then we got the t-shirts designed. So same old as of right now. I don't want to give too much out, but with that being said, what we're gonna do is go ahead and get started. We're getting straight into it today. So now, as far as our topic of discussion, first and foremost, is going to be our fitness for all. All right. So the first thing, a lot of people I've noticed try to stay away from the weights, especially when you go into the gym for the first time. You might think that working on machines might be a little bit better for you. Now, again, in different circumstances, absolutely correct. So you don't want to stay on one fixed machine because there's a couple of different things you want to be mindful of. So first and foremost, when it comes to muscle development, you're going to have a lot more benefit increasing bone density, your weight loss, reducing inflammation, because the one thing that I don't like about machines is the fact that they're not personalized. They're not unique to anyone. They kind of have just the general person in mind and then make the little adjustments that you can on the seats and things of that sort, but it's still not specifically for you, if you get what I'm saying. So with that alone, you kind of have to be mindful of that. So when you're doing things with dumbbells, it gives you the opportunity to allow your stabilizing muscles to work throughout the movements. Instead of relying on the machines where it just focuses on that one area, why not incorporate your full body and still get, to an extent, a really nice workout, but you're still engaging other muscle groups within your body at the same time. So number 2, we have not having a range of exercises. So this is one of my favorite topics because when I work with clients or anybody that just hits me up on a day-to-day basis about how often should they change their exercises, workout routines, and etc., I personally think that every 4 to 6 weeks is perfect. And the reason being is because, one, you don't want to plateau. We don't want you to get bored, and we also want to incorporate different exercise movements that allow you to recruit your muscles a different way. So the way you do a bicep curl, for example, sitting down on a bench, sitting down on a bench at an incline, doing incline curls will feel different from standing up and doing alternating curls because you're leaning back at an incline. So it's pulling on that bicep muscle a little bit more once you come down. So there's going to be a little bit of a difference when you do a little bit of tweaking for your program training. Or your training program. So when you keep that in mind, it'll make more sense as far as not just using the same thing over and over and over again, month in, month out. Maybe for a month, 2 months, okay. And then from there, you're going to want to progress it a little bit as well too. So, number 3. This is also a really important one, very important. When we come into the gym as a beginner, we're observing. We're observing, which is absolutely what you should be doing. But at the same time, and it happens to me all the time, like no lie, at least anywhere between 2 to 3 times a week that I'm training, I'll notice I'm doing a certain movement and then somebody will see it. And kid you not, this was not even included in their workout. Let's say that I'm doing upper body, they're doing lower body. The whole time I've been there until I got to that area, they're doing lower body and I'm doing one specific movement and they tend to copy it, which is not an issue to me. But my thing is that the correlation that I'm trying to make is that the most important thing is understanding that whatever that they're doing, you don't have 100% guarantee of knowing that they're doing it correctly. So basically, you see somebody doing something and it might look cool, and it might look like, oh yeah, that's dope, like I want to try it, which is fine, but do some due diligence and see what that movement is or how to do it properly, and make sure that your form is always good. Now, somebody's going to be doing it a different way as well. So let's say that I'm doing my shoulder presses a certain way because I have shoulder issues, and you might think that I'm doing it wrong, or you're doing it that specific way and it doesn't work for you. There's a reason why it doesn't work for you, so just make sure that you're very mindful of, if this is your first time getting into a gym, or if you know anybody that's doing something similar that that's in your circle, of, hopefully you would tell them in the first place. But just be mindful of that and see how many people might do that to you. Not that it matters probably to you. It doesn't to me personally, but I do notice that a lot of kids that come in, especially super early, and this is more so for like the teenagers and whatnot, like late middle school, early high school, they see guys, not even like myself, but anybody else, and they're lifting or whatever the case is, and think that, okay, they're doing bicep curls, I need to go get a 40 to show off. But your form is, it's shit. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's garbage. So taking the opportunity to make sure that you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, and not just copying people because you see them doing it, right? So we're gonna go ahead and go straight into fitness myths. And the first myth is, the one thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is, if you gain weight, that means you're getting fat. Now, I'm going to keep this very simple. Just because you gain weight, it doesn't mean you're getting fat. And the reason being is because the muscle ratio to body fat, your muscles always going to weigh more, especially when you're getting stronger. And again, you're going to see a slight increase on the scale, but at the same time, like I said before, why does the scale matter if you feel and look good? We get stuck in this whole psychological entrapment of, I have to be this weight, like I have to be accepted at this weight internally. But in reality, it doesn't really make a difference how much you weigh, right? Like, you're still gonna walk around, move around, and do the same stuff, unless you're in a position where it's a little bit more disadvantageous, because you might have a battle right now that you're dealing with in regards to the weight loss process. That's a little bit different. So again, I don't think that's a really good correlation for a lot of people to have mentally, as far as being strong throughout this journey. I don't think it makes sense to focus on that personally. I know I'm kind of stuttering, but I'm trying to word it the right way so it doesn't sound like, ooh, like, yo, that was an a-hole sentence that you just said. It's like, no, it's just more of like there's a time and a place where people will get to, as they're going through their journey, where their mentality will shift. And it won't be necessarily, for example, helping somebody lose weight, right? Let's say I'm helping somebody who's at 250 pounds. We're losing weight. They get down to 200. And then, we're almost at the body that they need, but they're plateauing. So we could use things like, for example, refeed days or whatever, or going back up to maintenance. And that's where people get scared. So saying that you were at 2,000 calories and your maintenance, just moving around on a day-to-day basis, is 2,300, which means that you have to add in more food. And for them, psychologically at this point, because they've come so far and they reduce the weight, the thought of having to eat more scares them, because that's actually what got them in the position that they're in right now, that we're speaking. So when you put it in that perception, it's like, perspective, you're like, okay, then that makes perfect sense, right? So that's why I feel like when it comes to, if you gain weight, don't correlate it with gaining fat. You just have to be mindful that a majority of the time, if you have your levels done like an in-body scanner, they're not going to be 100% accurate, but it gives you the opportunity to see your muscle mass compared to your adipose tissue, aka body fat. All right, so number 2, we're not going to dig onto that one too much. So number 2, working out with a friend is distracting. So I can personally elaborate on this one, because from my personal perspective, I'm a person, like, when you train with me, anybody that knows, when you train with me, if we're cool, whatever, but there's a time and a place for everything. So if you're training with me on my time, for the most part, I'm going to have headphones on. It's nothing against you. That's just how, that's just how I move. I like to be in my zone. If I'm not coaching somebody, I'm not going to, so we could have our conversations in between, kiki, whatever, throw our headphones back in. And that's how I like it. I like it just like that, no problem. But don't stop me in the middle of every set. Don't try to have a full combo every set. You see I have headphones on. You see that, I like to get in my zone. If I need to help you with your form or something like that, that's different, right? But I could see how it can be distracting just based off of what I just told you. Because if somebody comes in and they're completely distracting you from doing your workout, then yeah, for example, if you got a friend, a homeboy, a homegirl, y'all finish y'all set, y'all just waiting to rest real quick, and they pick up their phone and showing you this person that they're talking to on IG, that's yeah, I'm annoyed. Get out my face. I'm trying to flex right now. You hear what I'm saying? So why are you coming to me with all this when this is our time to focus on us? We're in this box right now, utilizing these weights or these resources, as I call it, because I look at my body as a canvas, and I'm using these paint brushes and different types of colors to create and sculpt the ultimate body that I want as a god. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know how people they're not mindful of that. And I feel like that's a conversation you might have to have with the person at some point. So depending on who that person is, you might have to pull them to the side like, hey, look, Mark, I'm going to tell you straight up, you cool people is like, I rock with you, bro, but I need you to understand that when we come into the gym, we're here to work out. We're here to do what it do, specifically here. So as you'll notice, I wear my headphones while we're working out. So I'd appreciate it if we focused on keeping it short in regards to the conversations and not necessarily being distracted by your phone, and keeping that intensity and that energy outside of the phone and keep it on those legs when we're doing our leg day, sir. They look like chicken legs. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something small like that. But like I said, they can be distracting. It's a 50-50. It just depends on the person that you're working out with and what their ethic is, as far as like their workout ethic. If they're here to work and then not here to really run their mouth, or they might have a quick question on what you're doing, then yeah, that's fine. Myth number 3, exercise machines beat free weights, which is kind of similar to what we were saying beforehand. So machines have their positive and negatives. So you have, for example, dumbbells, barbells, cable machines, and then you have your selected machines, which are the ones that we're talking about, like fixed range of motions. So these are going to be like your leg presses, leg extensions, leg curls, stuff like that. So what I've noticed through my experience in research, and I'm always learning, which I love about this, this career at this point in time, is that your dumbbells and your barbells can give you a little bit more variety, especially your dumbbells. You get a lot more range of motion where the barbell is still somewhat fixed. So, for example, the way you would do a one-arm row compared to a barbell row would be completely different. And doing a barbell row on a Smith machine where the barbell doesn't come off would be completely different than a free-weighted barbell. You get what I'm saying? Like the way that your body will move is completely different because you're in a fixed range. Like you cannot move that way. Like you have to either tilt forward, lean back, whatever the case is, to compensate based on your body type. Not everyone's going to pick up the bar or be in the same position that you would. Everybody's different. You get what I'm saying? So now when it comes to the machines, the reason why I like them is, for example, people who are working with injuries, want to focus on isolating certain muscle groups, then yes, I think it makes a little bit more sense to incorporate the machines. So like a lot of bodybuilders and stuff, that's what we use because, again, I want to isolate the hamstrings. I want to do one-legged hamstring curls. You can't, so you can't really do, you could do like a one-legged a stiff-legged deadlift, but just with one leg, or one-legged stiff-legged. It's just it's a whole name. So one-legged stiff-legged deadlift would be what it would be considered. But basically the point I'm trying to make to you is that everything has its purpose. It's the same thing with the cable machines. The cables, I love the cables because they tend to have more constant tension on the cables themselves, whether they're going in a range of motion of up or down. They hold that tension, which is really amazing. So that's why I always said, opening up a studio gym, I'm going to have one of the first pieces of machine will be a Smith machine, a leg press. You're going to also have a like for example, free weighted squat rack if needed be. But I would also have that cable machine. That cable machine is really important because you have a lot of flexibility with that on its own. So I'm going to utilize that to the best of my abilities, if that makes sense, right? So that's that one there. So we're going to go on to the next one. Now, walking is better than running. That's the last myth. Now, I'm going to keep this one short. It's really not rocket science. And here's the thing, right? So they're both going to work on the same muscle groups. But the main difference is that they have different intensities. So all that means in general is that it's going to take you about roughly 2 times the amount of time to expend, for example, on walking, to equivalent to the amount of energy that you utilized or basically burned while you were running. So basically what I'm saying is if it took you 20 minutes to run and hit a certain amount of calories, it's probably going to take about roughly 40 minutes to hit the same amount of calories that it did for you running. And, in layman's terms. So that would be the way you want to look at it. It's the same way with, like, for example, HIIT training. It's the same concept. So like I said, intensity based. So if I'm doing a 25-30 minute HIIT cardio, exercise or routine, then that's going to be a lot more effective when it comes to keeping my heart rate higher and also burning more calories. Because again, I'm staying at a high pace for a longer period of time, as opposed to a slower duration that's sustained over a period of time. My intensity is not going to be the same. It's still high with running, but it's not going to be nowhere near, what you would reach for a HIIT workout. Now, granted, everything has its place. It's going to also, you have to think about recovery, things of that sort. We won't go into that right now, but just to give you that concept, right? So we're going into our next piece, which is going to be our diet and nutrition. All right. This is our last piece. Now with this, the things that I want you to be very mindful of that you don't want to eat or consume right before the gym is going to be, first and foremost, things like granola bars and protein bars that have a lot of sugar. Okay. So that's the first thing, because you're spiking your insulin level. Now, for most people, you don't even know how big of a deal that will be for you, but let me put it to you this way. Besides the sugar spike, let me explain it to you, because of the fact of it's lightweight. You get what I'm saying? So depending on the intensity of your workout, you're going to be able to have something, and not all protein bars are horrible. So if you have a decent protein bar that's pretty good with carbs, pretty good with fat, like it's well-rounded and protein, by all means. But I'm talking about more in the cases of that are just high in sugar, because one, you're throwing your sugar out of the window. Two, at the same time, you have empty calories, and it's a high amount of calories, because most protein bars are not, they kind of come pretty hefty, especially when you're going with a lot more protein and carbs and things of that sort too. So it's just something to be mindful of. And also your high fiber vegetables, because the thing is with your body does need fiber, right? But not necessarily right before the workout. You're actually better off eating carbohydrates to fuel your body and make sure that you're able to perform properly. So the thing is if you have too much fiber within your stomach, you're going to also have an issue as far as it being uncomfortable. Like you're going to feel slightly like constipated or things of that sort. So be very mindful of that. High fat foods as well. You want to be very mindful of not having that, just because of the fact of they're going to change the way you feel. And what I noticed is that fats are a lot more satiating for more people. So you could eat a lot of fats and just feel full for a long period of time. So you don't necessarily want to eat too much fat before the gym. Now, the last thing is yogurt, because there's some people who are lactose intolerant, and there's times where it's just like, if you don't digest dairy well, that's not going to be a beautiful sight, because you're going to be in that bathroom dropping Digalos like, Pops from Friday, and you didn't even start your workout yet. So just be very mindful of that before you just aimlessly eat something. Again, you want something that's more geared towards protein and carbs, and then you can have a reasonable amount of fats. And then when you come back out, same thing. You want to focus on carbs for recovery, protein, sustain the muscle growth, and inducing protein synthesis. And then you have your fats, which is going to help with hormonal imbalance, and also, again, making you feel satiated. And including those healthy fats will be beneficial to you in the long run. So these are going to be some of the things that make sense as far as to not have before the gym. And this is, again, basically it. because at the end of the day, when you really think about it, just think about all the food that you'll eat before the gym, and it's just like, bro, I shouldn't have ate that. Or like the one that I didn't even put on here either. It's still considered high fat. It's like, for example, like steak or just red meat in general, because it's heavy. It's heavy. So the last thing you want on your stomach is like a freaking bowling ball in your stomach, and it's just like, bruh, you gotta go do squats, and I feel like I'm gonna throw up, So just be mindful of how you place your food during the day in regards to as you're purchasing, meals before the gym or meals after the gym, which is not as important, but the ones before the gym, make sure they're not super, super heavy. So like even something like Pollo Tropical, I could grab that and eat half of it and feel pretty good, and then come back out of the gym and then finish the rest. All right, family. So that's everything for today. That is episode 15. And again, thank you so much, family. If you could like, share, comment, and subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And so for today's recipe, let me get you guys the name of it. So it is called the garlic herb chicken meal prep patties. Okay. So what I like to do is give you guys things that I feel like would be beneficial in regards to meal prep wise as well. So if you could cook more of it and it's something quick and fast to make, you could also incorporate it with the family. If you have a family, I think it's really nice where you guys could do like one recipe a week and try something new and spice things up. And it could be like a family thing that you guys do, right? So again, we want to spend more time with each other. But with that being said, family, we get fit and we don't quit. I'm ready to get these t-shirts out to you guys. Got some dope concepts coming out, and I'll get back to you soon. We out.